So we've gotten a lot of questions about vlogging setup, cameras, computers, software, all of that stuff. So we thought we'd take a moment and make a video to share our vlogging setup with you guys.
That's right. This is going to be a very technical video with lots of terms and things like that. So if that's your thing, this is your video. If you want to know exactly what we do to pull off this weird YouTube channel, this is your video. This is it. But if you don't care, if you're not very technical, just move on past it. We will not be offended. No. Just rewatch our last video or something.
There you go. Yeah, and the next video will be another adventure. But
that's right.
This one we're going to talk about cameras, microphones, accessories, computers, and software, everything that goes into putting together one of these videos. But we're going to start with microphones. It's something that people don't often talk about much.
That's right. Audio is a huge component of putting together a video.
Yes.
A lot of people think cameras and video and megapixels and things like that. And yeah, that's important. But if you don't have good audio, that's going to show. People are going to notice that right off the bat.
Yes.
People will forgive bad video in general before they'll give bad audio. Forgive bad audio.
Exactly.
So this is how we get the best audio we can.
Yes. So we're going to start with our newest product first. This is a wireless lapel mic that Steve is modeling so nicely right here.
Right here. This is currently not the audio that you're hearing. We will switch over to this in just a minute. But this is a wireless transmitter to a receiver that's connected to the camera. It goes straight into the audio jack on my A6300. We'll talk about that later. But this means that the audio is synced in camera with the video, so when I get that final file, it's already synced. The audio and video are together. I don't have to, sync everything and have everything match up in post-production using Premiere.
Which we will have to do with the next microphone we'll talk about. But
yeah, so this is new. We just got this. In the interest of full disclosure, this was sent to us by the manufacturer to use it and test it and mention it in a video. So we're still testing it. So we still don't, we haven't used it enough to give you an official recommendation yet, but it's really convenient to use because it's wireless. And it does a fairly nice job. The audio comes across very nicely. We have had problems with connectivity. Sometimes it'll just spontaneously lose connection, which is really frustrating. It just magically happens. We don't necessarily know why. It's very, very cheap plastic, but then again, it's only 30 bucks.
Yeah, it's like a $30 or $40 microphone. So it's a really good starter option. We've wanted one of these for a while. For instance, for when we do interviews or if we're touring someone's rig, this would be the best option for audio. And so this is a really great starter option, it seems like, so far.
That's right. So we use this some of the time. We use this on a couple of Tuesday Talks in the past.
Yeah.
Did well. So it's a nice option.
Yeah. So we're still testing it. It takes 2 AA batteries and 2 AAA batteries, and is wireless, like you said. I think that's everything. So do we want to switch over to this audio so you can hear what it sounds like?
Let's let you hear. In 3, 2, 1. And now we are on the lapel mic.
Exactly. And
sounds pretty good.
Yes, you probably could tell a difference between the previous audio and this audio, but Steve will make it as seamless as possible, but you can tell that there are different audio sources.
That's right, but if you use the same audio source throughout the entire video, I mean, people aren't going to notice.
No.
I like that the sound comes across nice, the voices have a little bit of bass in them, then that's naturally, I'm not enhancing that. That's straight from the lapel mic. Yep. So, I mean, for $30, it's pretty good.
Yeah, exactly.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to another audio source that we have used for a long time, and that would be our troll. It kind of looks like a troll, doesn't it? This is the Zoom H1n, and it actually looks like this. And we have this little muff on it, which makes it look like a troll to help with wind noise. In general, you'll see a lot of muffs that we have because we're out in the elements a lot and have to deal with wind, which can be really annoying. So having a wind muff makes a very big difference. So this guy actually provides really good audio, but it is not wireless. I currently can't get the muff back on. It is not wireless. It has a memory card inside of it.
That's right.
Which it stores the audio file on, and then Steve needs to manually sync that audio file with the video when he's in post-production or in production.
I do that in Premiere. But, I mean, the advantage there is the audio from this is really, really high quality.
It's amazing quality.
Especially for the price of that thing. And I mean, you could have that mic almost anywhere, like holding down in front of you, behind you, whatever. It picks up your voice really nicely.
Exactly. So this has been what we've used in all of our Tuesday talks for the longest time. Sometimes you may see this little bit of hair sticking up over the over the frame.
I try to hide that, but sometimes you'll see the troll hair.
Yeah, and that would be the troll, which is our main audio source.
That's right. Okay.
So let's switch over to this audio so you can hear what this sounds like. I'm just going to turn it on and then press the little record button up on front here once it accesses the memory card. And it's now recording. And so we now have this audio source as well as the audio that Steve has on his shirt, and so you should be able to hear the difference, maybe, or maybe it's all seamless. We will find out when Steve puts the video together.
Oh, it'll be seamless. I'm that good.
Yes.
Or something. So this guy...
You should hear that.
I always pet the...
You should hear that because it's on.
That's right. So
that's what it sounds like if he's petting it, because this is the audio we're using.
This records the audio to an internal card. Yeah. So I have to put this into our Sony laptop, which I'll talk about in a bit, and sync it with the video like we talked about before. So it's an extra step, but this is fairly high quality, so especially for our Tuesday talks, it's been worth that extra step.
Yeah, and we've actually used it, we've actually helped other YouTubers and vloggers out by taking this along with us. It works out great for other people as well. And it's just an extra audio source just in case.
Yeah,
so.
and you can use it as if it were a traditional microphone, because really it is. It's just not shaped exactly like your traditional microphone.
Yeah, it takes one AA battery, and yeah, it's a great microphone to have on hand.
It's a good option. All right, turn it off, and now back to the lapel.
Okay. Now, third microphone that we have is on the camera that we're currently filming with. So you will see that here when Steve takes extra footage of it. But right now what he has on there is, you want to show him the box?
Yes. It's a Rode Video Micro. It's a newer microphone that I just bought with my own money, not sponsored. I wanted to try this. I had an old Rode Video Mic Go, and that was acting a little finicky. I was getting static in weird places and it just wasn't very reliable. So a lot of people were using this one. So I decided to give it a try. So far, so good. It's very loud. It picks up a lot of the ambient sound. So I'm finding myself removing some of that background sound in post. But for the most part, it's a really nice mic. Yeah, and you have a wind muff on it. That doesn't take any batteries. It just plugs into the camera and it integrates seamlessly. So it's it's just like when you download the footage from the camera, the awesome audio from that microphone is there. So let's us give you an example of what that sounds like. All right, let's do it. We are now using the audio from the microphone on camera, the Video Micro. Steve's behind the camera. Say hi, Steve. Hello, guys.
So you might be able to tell a difference in his voice being close to the microphone and mine being farther away. So I'm going to walk closer to see if you hear a difference in how close you get. So this is why we don't always use this microphone, the camera microphone, when we're doing Tuesday talks or things when we're farther away, because there's often wind noise and we're far enough away that we'd have to shout in order to make ourselves clear. One funny thing about this microphone, or any microphones that you put on top of the camera, you'll often see people have this wind muff on it. It's called a dead cat, really, that's what it's called. And it really makes a big difference in wind noise. And we've gone through a number of different ones. They make them for the different size microphones, so we highly recommend a wind muff on pretty much any microphone you get, because if you're gonna be out in the elements in the wind, it really makes a huge difference. The last main source of audio you may hear in our videos is audio from this guy.
Comes from a different camera.
Yes, so this is one of our other cameras. We'll talk about that here in a second, but there is a microphone on this camera. It is not the best.
It also has a toupee.
Yeah, so like we said, wind muffs make a big difference. This is a little micro muff to help with this camera.
Straight from the UK.
Yes. But yeah, so you will often hear some of the audio from this camera as well. And yeah, it's not the best audio, but it works really well for this camera, which is our primary vlogging cameras, because we can go like this.
It's very lightweight, easy to use, it's small. Let's let you hear the audio.
Let's let you hear the audio.
Let's let you hear the audio through the UK acquired micro muff.
Yes. So this is the audio, just part of the Canon camera that we have. If we were to set this farther away, obviously the audio would not be as good. Same problem as what we had with the other microphone. Oh, ready? We're gonna show this?
Continue talking, continue talking.
But in general, this is a really great little microphone, little camera to have, because it allows us to get audio while out on the go. I could be on my bike with that camera and still get audio. Now let's talk about cameras. Cameras. This is the Canon G7x Mark II. This is my primary video camera, and you see this often, especially when you see shots like this. This is the main reason we got this camera. Very convenient flip up screen so that we can see ourselves and see if we're actually on camera when we are talking to the camera. It also is super convenient for things like time lapses. If you see some of the hiking videos where we hike over the camera or hike away from it, this is the camera we leave behind or set up and get ourselves doing different things, because it's very easy to just like set on something like this cool accessory and get shots. So yeah, this is like the bulk of our video at this point, besides Tuesday Talks and any of the creative video or photography, which is all done on Steve's camera. Let's switch sides, huh? There he is. So Steve is holding.
This is a Sony A6300 digital camera. Very lightweight, it's mirrorless, it's a 1.5x crop sensor, which means the sensor is smaller than a 35mm sensor would be. Those are considered full frame cameras. A lot of vloggers have full frame. Honestly, I kind of want a full frame, but I can't justify the cost because this guy does absolutely great in virtually every situation. This is a 24 megapixel camera, frankly way more than I need. I have the 18-105 Sony lens. It's a G lens on this guy. This is on 99% of the time. We have the Rode Video Micro that we talked about earlier on board. And one of the reasons why I upgraded from the A6000 to the A6300 is this audio jack. This audio jack was not present on the 6000. It is on the 6300 and the 6500. So if that's important to you, this camera is what you need, not the 6000. But this guy does all of our slow-mo, all of our photography, or at least the wide majority of our photography. The thumbnails you see all come from this camera here. It does very nice, like I said, in virtually all situations. And I'm happy with it. It's small, lightweight, easy to travel with, and can't ask for much more than that when it comes to travel vlogging.
Now you do have some other lenses you sometimes use. Do you want to show some of those?
Sure. So the first lens I'm going to talk about is this Rokinon. This is a fisheye. It's an 8.5mm fisheye. You definitely see distortion around the edges with this guy because it's such a wide angle lens, but it's really fun to use. I get creative with it, especially with night skies and things like that. This is a manual focus only lens, which is fine because it's such a wide angle. You really don't have much distance to actually focus. It's all very close to the same plane, same focal length, and it's very easy. It's very easy. I don't think I've ever missed a focus with this guy because it's such a wide angle lens. The other one I wanted to talk about, and there's one more after this, this is a Nikon 55mm f2.8 macro from the 1970s. I think this was made in '78 if I'm not mistaken. One of the fastest lenses and the sharpest lenses I have ever used, bar none. And this was made in the 70s, which means I could pick this up for cheap. And what I do is I use a Nikon to Sony coupler, which allows me to use virtually any Nikon lens on my Sony camera through the use of that little coupler. The coupler is not on this one, it's on the other lens that I'm going to talk to you about next. But this is a macro, which means I can get close. Any flower photography or anything that's really up close, that's very small and detailed, this is a perfect lens for capturing that kind of photography. And last but not least, this is also a Nikon. This is a 300mm f4.5 manual focus only lens, again from I think the 70s or 80s era. This is the coupler that I was talking about. So this unscrews and then the lens part is just here. And this is what actually allows me to use a Nikon lens with my Sony camera. Very cheap. This was like 15 bucks. It will not allow autofocus, so it doesn't have the electronics that will communicate between camera and lens, but I only use manual focus Nikon lenses anyway, so the cheaper coupler made perfect sense for us. And this is the equivalent of a 450mm lens because of the 1.5x crop sensor that's in play with the camera. So basically you multiply your focal length by 1.5, and that's the effective focal length on a 1.5x crop sensor, which the A6300 is. I hope that made sense. If it didn't, I'm sorry, but there it is. And last but not least, this is a GoPro Hero 4 Black. We don't use this very much. Sometimes we get time lapses with it. If you see any underwater photography, which is rare, but we do include it sometimes, that obviously comes from this in this little housing. It's completely waterproof. We can throw this thing around, attach it to the top of the Airstream, and if it falls, it's not going to break. So this is really our, if it's rough, if we're afraid of breaking the camera, we'll just pull out the GoPro and use it. And one of the things that we almost always use this on is this really cool GoPro clamp. And this moves like this. So it's very flexible, very strong. And that's one of the benefits of using a GoPro, is all the accessories that you have available to it. But really, this clamp is all we ever need. It's been perfect for us for 99% of the occasions, and we just hold it by this. Even if we're not using the clamp itself, it gives us a nice little handhold that we could hold it under the water and things like that, and it works pretty well. Don't use this very often, but when we do need it, it's nice to have. Okay, let's talk accessories. This is a little gorilla pod that we use on our Canon G7x Mark II. It does a really nice job. It's got a ball head on top, which means you loosen it and it moves all around. It's really easy to get it into the right position. These legs, of course, extend out so you can position it in strange ways and wrap it around poles and things like that. We really like this. With one exception, when these things get old, they get loose and these legs tend to pop out like that really easily. So we actually have another one on order now because we like it so well. But when it gets old, it gets a little bit finicky, and we don't want our camera to drop if it's actually on this because one of the legs breaks. So that's the only thing that I would caution you about. These legs get old, but it's really cool to use. And we've had this thing for about 2.5 years. So you have several years depending on how often you use this, and we use this all the time. So if you don't use it all the time, you probably get more than a couple of years out of it, but it's certainly well worth the money. Next, we have this camera holster. I picked this up at B&H Photo when we were in New York. One of the things I use all the time, and I love it, it's so cool. I attach this to my belt, so the belt just goes through these openings here, and it's right along the side of me, and I can attach my camera, which comes with this little adapter. So this comes with this, and the idea is you would screw this into your tripod screw hole, and this is on your belt, and you just slip it in, and there it is. Your camera just hangs there on your waist. It's like a little holster, and it's a quick release, so this little button comes up, you slide it right out, back in, right out, and I really like this. It's so convenient, and this is very lightweight. It hardly weighs anything. I hate things hanging around my neck, so this is a perfect solution to that. And the last accessory is our tripod. This is a relatively new to us tripod. Very, very lightweight. I mean, just incredibly lightweight. Very, very lightweight. But this is the tripod that we use for things like Tuesday Talks and anything we need really stable footage with. I really like the ball head on this too, just like the Gorilla Pod. You can move it all around like this. It's got a little leveler on the top, so a little bubble leveler, so you can make sure that it's exactly right. There's all different things that you can loosen and tighten to make sure it all works exactly as you plan. And these legs can fold all the way out like this, so you can get really low to the ground if you want to. So it's very flexible, very maneuverable. We don't use tripods all the time. As you know, I really don't like lugging around tripods, but when I do need one, this sucker is so lightweight that it's really a breeze to take around with us. And I kind of like the color too.
And it folds up really nice. So show how small it folds up to. Or at least one leg. Look at that, and then that folds up.
So, all right, so all the legs are in. And then the legs fold up like this. This. And one more.
Yeah.
This is basically a little, the size of a piece of wood that you would stick in your campfire. It's in fact, it's lighter than that. It's, yeah, look at this. And then it has a little hook on the top that you can hang it, and it's just so easy. This is a really nice tripod. Now let's get to computers. I have a Lenovo Yoga Windows machine, 16 gigabytes of RAM, and it's a Yoga because it flips all the way around and turns into a tablet. I rarely use it as a tablet, but it's kind of nice to have that feature. But it's very easy to use. Windows. I have nothing against Apple. I think Apple's great, but quite frankly, I used Apple before. It was fine, but it was a little overpriced. If I was going to get a MacBook Pro with 16 gigs of RAM with the exact same specs as this guy, I would pay almost twice the amount of money I paid for this Lenovo. And this thing was 1,500 bucks. Does a nice job. It's not the beefiest video rig around, but it certainly does the job for me. It's relatively lightweight. It kind of goes through battery quickly, so if you're not used to that, that might be a problem, but it works well. I use Adobe Premiere as my video editing software, the latest version from Adobe CC, and I use Photoshop for photos and Lightroom for importing the photos in and doing some basic edits. I really don't use Photoshop all that much, but I will if I have to add text, and like all the thumbnails you see, that's the latest version of Adobe Photoshop. All the videos you see, the latest version of Premiere, all on this computer here. And by the way, why do I use Adobe Premiere? Because it's cross-platform. You can use it on a Windows box as well as you can on a Mac. So it doesn't matter what computer you're using. And I am very familiar with the Adobe products because I've used them all my life. So for me, that just made the most sense. There's other alternatives, but for me, just the flexibility of being able to use a Windows or a Mac with the same product, the same interface, the same everything, that to me is definitely a benefit. Okay, and that's it for now. I think we did a pretty good job of explaining everything that we do to build this YouTube channel. But if you have any questions, feel free to let us know in the comments. We'll be sure to answer them. And everything that you see here, if it's available on Amazon, we will provide an affiliate link to Amazon. So if you click through that affiliate link, we get some beer money. Thank you very much, by the way.
Yeah, that goes to our store. So we won't put separate links for every single product. We'll just link you to our store, and under camera gear, you will find everything we talked about. We also have a couple other tabs such as internet and stuff like that. That has some more of our technology based equipment in there as well. But you should find anything that's on Amazon in our Amazon store, linked below and above.
Yeah. People have asked us how to support us. How can they support us because we don't use Patreon? Well, using those links is exactly how you do it. Yeah. So thank you very much if you choose to do that. If not, it's all good too.
So hopefully this was helpful for all of you that keep asking questions about our setup. And yeah, stay tuned for another adventure video here soon.
By the way, this is being recorded on a Canon G7x Mark II.
Right now. With the toupee. With the toupee.
Which makes it hard to see the screen because the screen pops up and the toupee's right there. So I'm only seeing like half my head. I'm seeing half my head.
That's okay. Okay. Bye guys. Hopefully this was helpful.
Yep.